Pod 106, man. LA's #1 for hip hop, man. This is T Real.
It's your boy Ace Boy Pun.
I'm Heather.
It's your boy Smack. You heard me?
Yeah, and today we got a very, very, very special guest, man. We have the mayor in here, Karen Bass. Clap it up.
Sure.
Woo! Hey, what's going on?
Thank you for having me on. I am happy and proud to be amongst all of you and talk to LA.
Yeah.
We're excited.
For real.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
Excited to have you. Well, LA, man, how I got to know Karen is she invited me to one of her dinners at her home.
That's right.
Was very it was a great experience. Food was great, by the way. Or I'll talk bad about you.
Ooh, I will remember that. I'll make sure the food is extra special.
It was good, but we formed a little bond there
Yeah.
at that dinner that day it'll stick with me forever. It'll
Oh.
stick with me forever. So, and you was telling me how you grew up and where you came from and your start like that. So I want you to tell Los Angeles a little bit what you was telling me that day
Sure.
about the dinner.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, it was wonderful having you there and Heather
Thank
and
you.
meeting the two of you and knew that you were connected to my family.
Yeah.
With my niece and nephew. But you know what? I've always been the same my whole life. I was born on 49th and Central. I have always been committed to my community, and I ran for mayor because I was worried about all of our folks on the street. We have 40,000 people sleeping on our streets, and a lot of
Yes,
people
we
don't
do.
realize it wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm.
But black folk are only 9% of LA, and why are we over 30% of the people on the street?
Right.
So we go
crazy.
through these periods where the only solution for us seems to be to lock us up. And that's why I wanted to do this job, because I was not going to stand for that. I want to help our people, not lock our people up. We've been there. We did that. How'd that work for us?
And before running for mayor, what did you do?
Well, I was in Congress, and I was in Congress for 12 years. And there I was working on criminal justice reform, police reform, reforming the foster care system. And I was the lead Democrat for Africa policy. So it's about our ancestors, it's about our homeland, and it's about our streets in LA. That's me.
That's you. And just if we back up a little bit more too, you were actually a nurse, right? Am I correct?
I had a lot of different jobs. Hey, but you know why I had a lot of different jobs?
Yeah.
Because nobody told me I could make a living fighting for my people.
See,
So I had to do
love
that after working on the weekend. During the day, I was still taking care of my people. I was a nurse. I worked in the neonatal ICU with the little tiny babies, the premature babies.
Oh, wow.
I went back to school. I became a PA. And then I was working in LA County's emergency room, dealing with us when we got shot, stabbed, overdosed. I was working in the trauma area of the emergency room.
Wow.
See, I love that. A lot of people don't know that.
And then when
really-
crack hit, I said, oh my God, I thought we were all going to die.
Sheesh.
So I left medicine. I went to 85th and Broadway and started an organization 35 years ago that's still there.
Oh, wow.
to this day, see, nobody don't know that. I love that you really for the people.
For the people.
For the
Right.
people.
And she really grew up in the ghetto.
And the
trenches.
ghetto. She said 85th and Broadway. I said, oh, we speaking the same language.
Right.
Okay, so we are speaking the same language. You
Facts.
here, you was there, you was doing it. My mom was in Martin Luther King Hospital too. And
She
it was,
was.
man, it was going crazy in there.
Yeah.
It just traumatized her a little bit.
Do you know those years the military sent doctors to the emergency room to be trained in warfare because there were no major wars going on?
Wow.
Because there was warfare on our streets with all these high-powered guns, they sent the military there to be trained.
Wow.
That's deep.
That's
That's
deep.
Yeah, for sure.
That's deep, man.
Got to come get trained here in LA. That's great.
What are you doing, like, as far as, like, the homelessness and the violence in the ghetto? What are we doing to change this?
So let me just tell you, with the homelessness, I've spent the last 2.5 years getting our folks off the street, and we've had, for the first time in years, a reduction in street homelessness. And the big thing is that we destroyed that myth that our people don't want to leave the streets. That's a lot of BS.
Right.
I have to say BS, right?
Yeah. You good.
I don't want to
you
make a
good.
mistake.
No, you good.
Okay. And so we've gotten thousands of our people off the street. the other thing in terms of the violence, when I started the organization 35 years ago, I believed in redemption and second chances, and I believed that if you got people who were part of the problem, they would redeem their lives, especially people coming out of prison and all of that. And I worked with them, our people who were gang involved, and getting them, on the straight and narrow. So we pioneered a lot of strategies, and so I have in the mayor's office an office of community safety, because when crime happens, you got to deal with it.
Right.
But I like to focus a lot on preventing crime from happening, and so getting those people who were involved, who now are on the straight and narrow, to talk to the younger generation to say, hey, there's another way you can do this. Right. And then the other thing that was happening during those years is that a number of people that were in the life wanted to and made money, wanted to transition into legitimate businesses. Right. You know how Las Vegas started? Yeah. You know how Las Vegas started? Right. And then Las Vegas became totally legitimate. It didn't start that way.
No, not at all.
And another thing, they got the Olympics coming, right?
The World Cup in 11 months.
Yes.
And then the Olympics.
And there's a lot of graffiti on the wall. That's like terrible, nasty.
But you know what I want to do? I want to change it to murals. I want to take those young people that are obsessed behind their initials,
right,
and say, could you paint a picture?
Right.
Paint a picture.
Because you got talent.
Right.
Put a big mural up there.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We don't know who you are to be. I mean, why your initials?
Yeah, why your initials? We don't want
to.
You
obviously are artistic.
Yeah.
So,
right.
We should give them a designated area where they can just go ahead. Hey, this is you guys.
I am serious about that, because back in the day we did that, and then you got the people who were tagging and who were doing graffiti to do murals, and then those murals became off limits. People wouldn't deface the murals, but now how many times did they have to redo Kobe?
Right.
What is that about?
I mean, he is a legend.
Yeah, but why it was a beautiful mural.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to homelessness. Can you speak more into like the permanent housing situation?
Sure. So my first objective is, if you're on the street, we got to get you off the street so you don't die. Because 5 people die every day. 5 people didn't wake up this morning, okay? We got to get you off the street. We put you in a motel, and then we begin to address why your life fell apart and you wound up on the street to begin with. And there's a lot of reasons. Then after that, get you into permanent housing. But we got a lot of problems along the way, because the permanent housing isn't being built fast enough. So what we used to do is we used to say, you stay on the street until we build you something. I think that's crazy, because our people are dying on those streets. So we have to come up with a better system. I have an initial one, but we need to improve it, where you can stay off the streets for like a year and a half while you're waiting for your housing. We thought it was going to be much less time than that, but reality as it isn't. It takes a long time.
Yes. So the homelessness programs, you guys are just beefing up on those.
And the numbers came out a couple of weeks ago, and some people question the numbers, but 3 different sources verified the numbers.
Yes. Right.
That's great.
So for the people who feel like homelessness is getting worse, for the Angelinos, what do you feel like, they should know about that? Like, I feel like it's getting worse.
Right. You know what?
Typically
that's if you live near encampments. You know what I mean? I mean, if the encampment near you has not been cleared, then you don't see a difference. And you know how like if you live someplace and they demolish something on the corner and you knew it was there and then you forget what had been there before? So we've removed over 100 encampments. Like, for example, in Hollywood, 50% decrease in encampments in Hollywood. There were encampments all up and down Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard, and they're not there anymore. I think after a while, people drive by and forget they were there in the first place.
Right.
But they're not there.
I was seeing a lot on the side of the 101 freeway, too.
Right.
Did you guys clean that up?
We have. Skid Row. Now, we've removed hundreds of people from Skid Row, but there's thousands of people there.
Right.
So unless you drive by Skid Row all the time, you wouldn't notice a difference at all. And there are some encampments that we haven't been able to get to. Not that they refuse to move or anything like that. It's just a matter of resources. But, one thing that people should know about encampments is they're communities. Those are communities. And one of the reasons why we have succeeded in getting rid of the encampments is because when we go there, we take everybody.
Right.
What they were doing is they would cherry pick we'll give you housing and you housing, you housing, but you guys have to wait. We go, no, everybody here, we got a hotel for you and you can all go, and we take the people together. And that's why we've been more successful. We've had very few problems. Now, the people who won't go are the people who are so profoundly ill that they don't even know they're on the streets. You know, and then everybody assumes that the people on the streets are drug addicts or mentally ill,
Right.
but they don't realize that a lot of the addiction comes after you've been on the streets. You use meth to stay up at night so you can survive, especially women. And then I challenge anybody. You go sleep out on the streets for 2 weeks and tell me, number one, that you're not using something to medicate yourself, or two, that your mental health has not deteriorated. So the question is a chicken and egg. Sometimes it's drugs and mental illness that leads to homelessness,
Right.
but more times than not, it's homelessness that leads to substance abuse and mental illness.
Wow.
The common miscommunication, especially with the mayor, you're only responsible for programs within the city of Los Angeles.
Oh, as mayor, I'm responsible for everything. The weather. Why is it 80 degrees today and not 90?
Yeah.
How come I haven't changed the insurance industry? I mean, part of what I have to do is teach in terms of, yes, just the city, which means Altadena is not in the city of Los Angeles. Altadena actually is not a city.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I constantly have to educate people as to what the mayor and what the city can do and not do. For example, healthcare, that's a county issue. But you know what? When it comes to Angelenos, I don't care whether it's a city or a county issue or not. I'm not going to say, well, I can't deal with your health because because it's a county issue. Then I'm going to advocate in the county for you who are in the city.
Let's get right in here. Let's just nip this in the bud. It's the big elephant in the room, and the big elephant in Los Angeles, California
that?
right now. They want to speak about what's going on right now, and the ICE raids is now. So, and the ICE raids, dealing with the ICE raids, I'm seeing a lot of my people that's dealing with this, because I do have a lot of Hispanic friends in the community. And what I see right now is just like the aggressive approach to things and what's going on with the ICE raids. How are we dealing with this, and how can we fight this just as a community? Because the steps that they are taking, I don't think that's right. And the community as in a whole, that's what we're dealing with right now. That's what we're fighting with right now. And I feel like there can be better steps that could be taken.
Well, let me just tell you that what's happened is that we have temporarily stopped it by going to court. And I'm excited about that we called them on it, because you have the situation where you had these masked men. Just think about this for a minute. Masked men, plain cars, no license plate, tinted windows, jump out the car with rifles drawn,
Right.
bulletproof vests that looks pretty dubious. Sometimes I wonder whether they got it from Amazon, because it might just say police. What the heck does that mean?
Right.
They won't identify themselves, and they snatch people off the street. And it looks like a kidnapping, and frankly, as far as I'm concerned, that is what it is.
That is a kidnapping.
Facts.
And
Right.
so pull you in the car. And so what the lawsuit said that we joined, meaning we as the city joined into the lawsuit, it said they were racially profiling. Because based on what did they decide to pull the lady over who was selling pineapples on the street? What was the basis of it? Why are they chasing people through Home Depot? Why are they going after people who are gardeners or landscapers? Why is it now hard to get your car washed in LA?
Right.
Because the car washes have been shut down because they keep raiding car washes. So what the administration said originally is they were going after hardened criminals, violent criminals. Well, I don't know, but I think the lady selling pineapple, I think it's kind of hard to believe that she's a member of a cartel or MS-13. So this is an administration that's run amok. This is an administration that wanted to show us who was boss. But just remember, a couple of weeks ago, they brought the military and marched them through MacArthur Park, through a kids' summer camp. Did you know that?
Yeah, that was crazy.
The kids.
That was wild.
They had to usher the kids inside so the kids wouldn't see. And you know what? I went and I talked to some of the kids. They were 7 and 8 years old, right? Now, they didn't see. They were able to usher them downstairs, so they didn't see what was happening. But an 8-year-old came up to me. He actually knew who I was. I'm like, how does an 8-year-old know know who or what the mayor is.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he came up to me, and the first things out of his mouth was he was mad about ICE. Now, that is sad that 8-year-old even needed to know about ICE, but he had to because his parents told him, in case I don't come home, this is what has happened to me. So we've had people disappear from around the city. Families don't even know what happened to them. Right. So one of the things that we won in the lawsuit is that they have to allow these people that they detain to be in contact with their families, to have legal counsel. So this is an administration that has run amok, that wanted to put us in our place. This is the third time in U.S. history the federal government has seized power from a governor and sent troops to us that we never needed in the first place.
Right.
Wasn't nothing happening here warranting that.
Right.
So how could Trump do that? Speak more to that.
Well, federal law does supersede state and local law, but he doesn't always follow the law. So the courts might say one thing, and he basically says, I don't really care what you say, I'm going to do it anyway. So that's kind of the situation that we're dealing with, but always claim your victories when you have them. And we had a victory in the court. Now they're challenging it, and it might get overturned, but it might stay because it was so egregious. So just think about this for a minute. LA, we have 3.8 million people. We're 50% Latino. So that means 50% of LA is subject to this. And by the way, black folk, was a whole lot of black immigrants. Your friends from Belize and Jamaica and Haiti are immigrants. So if you look at what's happening in Florida, the way they're snatching Latinos here, they're snatching Haitians there. And I don't put it past them to snatch us too, because we have a ton of black folks from all over the world integrated in our community. Think about your friends that fly those flags in their car. They're immigrants coming from a lot of different countries.
Right.
Our communities have been took a major blow, just economic wise, because we are 50% Latino out here. So when you go out here, it's like a lot of things they're not fully running. Our city has, the life been taken out of our city. So it's like, it's really crazy, man, for our people. And as soon as I told everybody, Karen Bass is coming up here,
They
they
said,
like,
why is she giving all that money out? Why is she giving the money out to them people?
Right.
yeah, they own it, man. They
Yeah,
own it,
what's
man.
going on with that?
They-
Well, let me
yeah.
just say that a group of foundations got together and decided that they wanted to provide cash resources to families that were stuck, that couldn't go to work, or they lost a breadwinner. I mean, hey, look, in all of our households, you need more than one income. But if a husband or a wife is snatched, that family could end up homeless in a couple of months because they can't make the rent.
Right.
So the foundations got together, asked the city basically to handle it. So no taxpayers' money is going to this. It's a little bit of money, the same kind of money that was distributed to families, all families that needed it during COVID. Now, the city is going to eventually, it hasn't happened yet, but the city is going to eventually distribute the money to community-based organizations who will then be in touch with people. So what has happened with a lot of the things I've done is that the right wing gets a hold of it and then totally distorts it and makes it seem as though here we have budget problems in LA and I'm giving away free cash.
Right. I have a question.
But does that
Yes, it does.
I have a question. With I have 2 kids in LAUSD, and they have, obviously friends from, Hispanic friends and all that. But what is your message as mayor to send to undocumented parents who are sending their kids to school, with school starting back in August?
I view, first of all, as mayor, I'm mayor for everybody in Los Angeles. And I want people to know that regardless of who they are, where they came from, when they got here, or why they're here, that I'm going to stand and fight for them. And that, our city, frankly, couldn't even function if how do you deport, damn near 50% of the population?
Right.
I realize most of the people that are here who are Latino are citizens, but these folks are going after citizens too.
Right. So I saw that they were saying at one point that they were going to start taking kids out of school if they can't get to the parents. You know what I mean? And that's what really my question was. What can you say as far as like making sure their kids are safe at school for undocumented parents?
So and I've not heard that, But I think people are flashing back to the first Trump administration where they did take kids, but they took kids at the border. So as mayor, some mayors govern the schools. I actually don't govern the schools. The mayor of Chicago, the mayor of New York, they're in charge of the schools too. But I will tell you that our superintendent, who is an immigrant, who actually was homeless when he was an adolescent, has taken a very strong stance and says he will not let them on a campus.
Okay.
Can you imagine that? You
Right.
can't go and take another kid out of school that's
Right.
not yours. You got to produce ID. You have to show that you are legitimate as the father in terms of the person that can take the kids out of school. Can you imagine a federal agency coming in? Now, that did happen. The agency came in, this was months ago. They came in to check on the welfare of some kids, and they weren't allowed in a school.
Okay.
So in the beginning of the year, everybody was devastated about the Palisades and Altadena fires. Can you talk about that and what the city's doing to help recover?
Sure. Well, I will tell you. And by the way, this is one of the ironies because we're doing battle with the administration now. In the wildfires, the administration was extremely helpful by sending an unprecedented number of Army Corps of Engineers out, and that's why we're on track we're clearing out things in the Palisades faster than has been cleared out in other fires, 6 to 12 months. We're ahead. So now rebuilding is beginning. We have about 700 permits that are in the queue waiting for their approval. We've already approved over 250. Structures are already going up in the Palisades, but I will tell you that an individual that loses their house, it doesn't make them feel any better for me to sit up here and talk about how fast it's going.
Yeah.
Because you still are out of your house.
Right.
And losing your house was a lot more than a building. You lost memories. And you lost relationships because the Palisades, just like Altadena, was a very tight community. And so those relationships are scattered, and that's very traumatic. But one thing that I have focused on also is making sure that the community area gets rebuilt. And that's something that typically doesn't take precedent. So by community area, I mean the city-owned land there where there was a library, a rec center, and a playground. The playground has already been rebuilt. There's going to be a ribbon cutting in a few weeks. There's going to be a temporary structure for the library up by September. And the rec center is on track to be rebuilt in the first half of next year. So I was able to convince the administration to expand the mission of the Army Corps of Engineers to clear the space for the community areas. Usually they just clear the residential and everybody else is on their own. Right. We said, hey, include the community because everybody is going to decide to rebuild at their own pace. Right. But we thought if we could get the community space up and running, they would have a place to gather and at least that part of their life could not be normalized, but you know what I mean, be better.
Right.
When we speak on Altadena, again, a lot of people don't know you don't have the authority.
I know. Why is she just talking about the Palisades?
Over the wildfire recovery. You don't have authority over testing toxins and
No.
debris. You don't have a lot of authority over a lot of things, and people don't know this. So, especially at a younger age, you know, even though people call me old, I don't know why. But still,
I'm in trouble.
I'm like, and just even younger than me, people don't know what you have authority over and what you don't have
Right.
authority over. So they're
Right.
blaming you for every single thing
Everything.
moving. You know, just speak a little bit more to that.
Sure, sure. You are right. I mean, I'm constantly telling people what I can do and can't do. The
Yeah.
biggie right now is insurance. But you know what? It's like I'm still the leader of the city. So even if I don't have authority over the insurance company, I can still fight for Angelenos about that. I don't have authority over the testing and the toxics and all of that, but I can still fight for Angelenos. And that's what people need to hear that I am doing and need the specific examples about. And the insurance, by the way, I mean, that's a national issue. You think about those parts of our country that have natural disasters every year.
Right.
You know, the hurricane season, they're going to have some kind of natural disaster. So the insurance company is kind of giving everybody a hard time. But you're right, I'm constantly explaining and really want people to know that I would never ignore a part. Whether I would never ignore Malibu if I was in charge of Malibu, I would never ignore Altadena if I was in charge of Altadena. But the only area impacted by the fires that I have responsibility over is the Palisades.
Okay. Can I ask you a
Okay.
question? What are you in LA doing proactively to ensure that future fires won't get this massive and out of control again?
Right. And one, we have to begin to look at a lot of things in our city. For example, we used to have fire season. It was never in January. We had fires that began when, during the summer time. So what we're all going through as a country and frankly as a planet is the impacts of climate change. So born and raised here, I don't know anything about a hurricane.
Right.
But we have to prepare for things that we never thought about
Right.
because of climate change. So some of it we're learning about as we're doing. So, for example, in the rebuilding of the Palisades, bringing experts to tell people how to do home hardening, which means when I rebuild my house, I'm going to anticipate that there will probably be a future fire. But how do I protect my own home? And so making sure that people have the resources, doing policies that incentivize people to take on home hardening. Some of the tougher issues is that there's some places that you should question whether they should rebuild or not. But it's pretty hard to say, I know your house burned down, but I don't think you should have a house there.
Yeah.
That's a private property issue. Right. And unfortunately, I won't be able to go, in that direction, because if it's your private property, you're going to do what you choose to do. We govern it to a certain extent. But also really evaluating our own systems from our fire department, our emergency system, and make sure that we are prepared for unexpected events.
And I'm gonna ask a question. Like when the fires happen, right? What do we do to go about how they said we didn't have no water and they cut all the water off when we had plenty of water to help these people put these fires out, but they choose not to give it to us and say we didn't have no water? That was just crazy to me.
One of the toughest things about this has been the deliberate campaigns to lie to folks, to just put misinformation out there.
Right.
For example, there was water that was sitting there in reservoirs
Facts.
because the planes couldn't fly. It was 100 mile an hour winds. There was a reservoir that was empty. That reservoir, had it been full, that water would not have been able to be used for the fire because that was drinking water and that reservoir would have been covered. So there's a lot of misinformation that's put out there, or the fire hydrants. There were broken fire hydrants, and some of the fire hydrants were dry. But a fire hydrant, as I think we all learned, is only equipped to put out maybe one or two houses. But when you have 100 mile an hour winds, the fire hydrants are using water is not going to do anything because the water is going to dissipate in the wind. But I think there were people who had an interest in contributing to chaos in terms of what was going on. And I think that the worst part of it was preying upon people's grief. And so I got a lot of that, right? Because people were mad. People were mad because I wasn't here. And we can talk about that.
Yeah, don't go to Ghana anymore.
Yeah, right. Don't go anywhere near the Big A. But anyway.
Don't
They were
do
definitely
that.
painting narratives on you for
Woo!
being gone.
I know.
Yeah.
I was over there partying.
Yeah.
But
She knew it was coming, so she left.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But that was probably the most painful part to me, is the idea that I would deliberately go somewhere when my city was at risk. And the way I try to for people to kind of understand that. I don't know if you've ever had a situation where you've been out of town when one of your kids or one of your family members got sick or was in an accident. And I don't care where you were or why you were where you were. You feel horrible that you weren't there.
Right.
The irony was, a few days before I left, it was major news that I was going to Africa because the White House had issued a press release saying that I was going to represent our country at the invitation of the president at the inauguration of the Ghanaian president. And what a lot of people don't know is that when I was in Congress, as I said a few minutes ago, I was the lead Democrat on African policy. So I was going to be gone for 3 days. And obviously, had I known that the city was at risk, I wouldn't have even gone to Long Beach, let alone left the country.
Right.
So it pointed out a weakness in our system that I wasn't notified. But when I came back and I talked to the fire chief right away before she lost her mind. Anyway, she told me that we have these winds all the time, but no one anticipated 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Right.
So the city nor the county went into disaster potential mode, mobilized everybody ahead of time, like happens. And so that pointed to a weakness in our system that we are addressing. But the overall thing I was raising is that now with climate change, we got to prepare for these things that we would have never even thought about preparing for. Santa Ana winds, you hear about that all the time. That happens every year.
Yeah.
All the time.
Political campaigns are crazy to me. So, and there's a lot of narratives on you every single time. And there's negative narratives every single time I look up, and it's Karen Bass' name included in everything.
I
So
have
I'm
found
like,
out I have done so much that I wake up in the morning and say, I did that. I was there. I said this.
they don't want you to be mayor no more,
Woo!
man.
I know they don't, but you know what? That just makes me want to do it all the more because I'm going to do it and fight for my folks. If my folks were off the street and homelessness was resolved and our kids didn't get involved in gangs and crime and the repercussions of that, I'd say fine.
Yeah.
We have the World Cup coming. We have the Olympics coming. I want our city as a whole to benefit from that. I want to make sure that our community gets a piece of the pie and that all communities do. I want to see the Olympics impacting citywide. South LA, we're going to, one of the things that happened in Paris is they had like these country villages. And so, for example, the country of Croatia, they're going to have their village in San Pedro. Well, we want to have Africa in Lamert Park and maybe downtown. Mexico, I talk a lot to the Council General from Mexico. That's going to be downtown at Alvera Street. And it's an opportunity that when the world comes, we don't want them to just go to Beverly Hills, the beach in Hollywood. We want them to come to Crenshaw. We want them to come to South LA, East LA, East San Fernando Valley. We want them to come everywhere. So I got more work to do. That's what I'm trying to say.
That was actually a
Yeah.
question.
So I'm not letting them chase me away.
That was actually a question I had for you. Like, what was the plan so that the inner city could benefit from the Olympics and not just downtown? And so that was good. You just explained that.
And we're working with our
working.
small businesses now so that they can be ready when contracts are there. But the Olympics, having these major events, and by the way, that's just two. We have the All-Star basketball game in February. We have the U.S. Open for golf for women in May. We have the World Cup in July. 8 games played here, but the World Cup lasts 40 days, so that's 40 days of parties and watch parties and all of that. 2027, we have the Super Bowl. 2028, we have the Olympics and the Paralympics. All of those should provide economic opportunities for our community.
I got another question, if it's cool. I grew up on 51st and Figueroa, right? What is we gonna do about the prostitution out there and these kids walking Figueroa?
So-
and your kids got to go to school and see this.
So let me just tell you, that's an issue that when we started in the 90s, we were dealing with as well. The difference is that there were women that were on the streets then. Now they're girls that are on the street.
Babies.
Almost across the board, the girls are from the foster care system. That's why I've always worked on foster care.
Right.
Because when you are a foster kid and you turn 18 or 21, we literally put you on the street. So foster girls are prime victims because they don't have the family support that would never allow them to be pulled that way, and especially foster girls that are in group homes.
Right.
And sometimes, unfortunately, it's the foster boys that are helping to traffic them. So I will tell you that I spent the night on Figueroa, like at 11 o'clock at night with the Vice Squad, with LAPD. And I was actually proud because we spent years trying to get the police to not view the girls as prostitutes. You can't be a prostitute if you're not even old enough to consent for sex. It's and it's child trafficking. So the night that I was there, like it was 11 o'clock at night, and they were getting ready to change shifts, and they had up on their video they were all celebrating that they had rescued a 12-year-old girl. They called it rescuing. And that was like, whoa, a big advance from when I got started with this. So what I have been doing about it over the years is trying to focus on the foster care system, changing the system. So when it comes to homelessness, that's a category of kids who we make homeless. So I inherited a nonprofit as mayor called the Mayor's Fund, and we have a specific focus on getting those kids housed. We know who they are because they're in the foster care. We know their names and addresses and phone numbers, and we still put them on the street. So if we know that, because one of the main things that keeps girls on the street and keeps them going back to their pimps is they have no place to go.
Right.
So you have to get some place for them to go. And frankly, with foster girls, I think they need to go far away. So it was an issue I worked on in Congress. It was an issue I worked on. You see, the issues I work on are the same issues that I've been working on since 1990. And some of them even before then. I've just worked on them from different places. So I know they're painting me as all these things I've heard I've done.
Yeah.
I know what social media says. And I know that there is an attempt to bring me down. But that's also happening to other black leaders around the country. It's happening to other black women. It's happening to other black mayors. And as a matter of fact, when you heard the targets that the administration was going to use around immigration, New York, Chicago, LA, what we got in common? Yeah. We're all being investigated for anti-Semitism. I'm being called before a couple of committees in Congress. They filed a suit against Los Angeles. They've named me in the lawsuit. But if you look at our history, this is what, and I knew this, I'm a big girl, this is what happens to leaders when they're involved in change and when they're disrupting the status quo. The question is, what will you sacrifice in a fight for your people?
I love that, Los Angeles. I hear that, man. Karen Bass is out here fighting for us, man. Fighting for us. She is also a brown belt in Taekwondo. She can fight for real if you really want to push up on her. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Oh my God,
Back
man.
in the day, we had to train.
See, that's all I'm trying to tell y'all. She fighting for the city for real, man. Well, we want to thank you for coming here.
I want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this. I've always wanted an opportunity to talk to our folk, and you've given me this opportunity, and I'm grateful for it.
Thank you again, man.
Appreciate
this
you.
is amazing. I appreciate you, man. Well, this is Power 106, man. LA's number one for hip hop. Oh, stopping it.
Let me ask Miss Mayor Karen Bass. If you could send one message directly to the people of LA right now, no filter, no political script, what would you say?
I would say that we are going to stand united in the city and fight. We are not going to let somebody come over here and take our city over, regardless of who they are. We're going to stand strong. LA is strong, and we are going to succeed. We're not going to let anybody bring us down.
All right. There we go.
Woo! Yeah, clap it up, man. Clap it up, man. Power 106, man. LA's number one for hip hop, man. Make sure y'all tune in, man, and vote for Karen Bass. Don't worry about nothing. Yeah.